Hey, it's Casey Okupi with Free Speech Northwest, and I'm very excited and pleased to have been on the Better Yourself podcast. So I was on this podcast that I believe is a England-based podcast overseas. So that's really cool, and I'd like to share it with you. We discussed cancel culture. All right. So please take a moment and check out how that podcast went because I liked it. I thought it went pretty good. All right. Enjoy.
Welcome to Better Yourself podcast with your boy Phonchrist. And today I have a special guest. His name is Casey. He's the host of the podcast Free Speech Northwest. So today we're gonna talk about the whole cancel, culture, the way we actually, we see YouTube, Facebook, they actually stop creators to actually post and express themselves the way they actually want it to be. I just want to talk about the impact that we're actually having today. So before we start, I just want you to introduce yourself so the listener are gonna actually know who you are.
Okay, yeah. I'm Casey Okupi with Free Speech Northwest. I do a video YouTube show, and I like to discuss political and social issues and topics, very much like cancel culture. And a lot of my videos have been canceled and taken offline. And right now I'm banned from Facebook for 30 days. So I feel it,
Yeah. I think I know exactly how you mean. Like, first of all, your podcast, what is it about? Because you talk more about politics, or you just talk about in general about a lot of things that you just want to express yourself.
Yeah, well, it's very political. I like to talk about issues, and I look at it from I think I'm more right than center, more Republican or conservative necessarily is the lens I view things from. And also I talk about like Christian stuff and just like you're talking about rights, liberties, all these different things.
I think that way, we have a lot of common point, because I kind of stand the same way as well. I live in England, but if I have to put myself if I have to choose the politician card, I we're gonna be more Republican and Christian as well, because when I want to express myself freely, I always trying to use that side of it. And in today's age, is very hard to stand for that ground, like to talk about those kind of things, like your faith, and also to be like a little bit of Republican, or in that sense, is very tough, because if you are being more like Democrat or talk about their way of thinking, is going to be more simple for you. I don't think you're going to be censored. That's what I believe, because it's more like the way everybody actually think, the way society is going as well. So your podcast is more about free speech, and then you stand more around politics and religion as well.
Yeah, and social issues. I'm concerned about people's safety. Just a huge spectrum. It's a big spectrum. I don't have it narrowed down very well.
Yeah. And how long you stopped doing that? Like you actually have your podcasts around?
A couple years now, about 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. And like, how did you start? Like, how did you start? I mean, like the censorship. How did you start? As soon as you start posting things, and how was like the journey when you start?
Well,
did you know exactly why you were starting? Like, the impact of whatever you were saying.
I know that there are people who are concerned with the things that I say. They think that my rhetoric, my verbiage and stuff is dangerous, probably. And I don't know, that I've been called fascist and all these other things. Ooh. Been labeled all those labels, but those are just people who have a different belief at a very strong level, to the point that they want to dehumanize people like myself so that they can justify the destruction of people like myself. That's what the labels are for. You turn someone into somebody who's not a human being, you turn them into a word, like fascist or something. So somebody calls me that, then they can justify destroying me simply because we view things different. That's That's what I'm seeing.
You know, the censor, did it just stop in social media? It went as far as you personally, like, people texting you and trying to get it a little bit personal, or you stop in the social media level?
I've had threats, people threatening physical violence towards me personally.
Okay.
I've did events where I invited some YouTube personalities and things. Like Mr. Reagan went to one of my events. He's a YouTube personality.
Yeah.
And there were about 30 Antifa outside
Oh.
protesting. And there were Proud Boys were there also. Are you familiar? Have you heard of the Proud Boys?
Proud Boys, I heard about. I don't know who they are, but the only time what I heard about it is when actually Trump mentioned them. That was the only time, and I did some research about it. So it was a bit mixed. I don't really know what it stands for. I'm just, to be honest. Yeah.
They've been on I have an episode where I bring on 5 or 6 Proud Boys and we have a discussion and everything. They are called, some people have labeled them as like white supremacists and things like that. They don't have any sort of racial requirement for people to join their group. So you could join their group. People who are Asian, Mexican, anybody can join that group. So I don't view that as white supremacists. You know what I mean? Everyone is welcome. The Proud Boys were like a reaction to violence towards people who wanted to attend things like a right-wing Trump rally or something. People would want to attend an event like that, and then there was violence happening towards those people. So the Proud Boys is an organization that decided to intervene to sort of get in between the violent people and the ones that they're trying to commit violence towards. That's how
Okay.
my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know too much about it, so I don't want to comment
Sure.
something wrong. But what I know, like, I heard like some. I mean, a lot of people were saying a lot of version, like some of them. I don't know if it's a racist group, or if it's not a racist group. I mean, you telling me based on what you're saying, like, it's actually not a racist group. But I think, as much as that, I think that's how far you went. Actually, you invite those people on your show.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact, I believe, when Trump was in power, I think for things was really, really hot that time. People was talking about like the Proud Boy, and people talk about Antifa and all these things, the protests as well. And I think the fact you have those kind of people on your show is gonna bring more hate. And if people see them as racist, I don't know if they're racist or not. I need to do some research. If people see them as racist, if they stand for that, of course, people gonna, they're gonna attack you in certain way, because they're gonna say like, okay, how can you invite those kind of people on your show and everything? And the fact the conversation, I believe, was just going in one way. You didn't have like people from both sides as well.
Not at that time. The
Yeah.
first episode of my show, I had somebody who was from Patriot Prayer, which is a right-wing group in the Pacific Northwest, and then
Yeah.
also a leader of a Portland Antifa group. I
Yeah.
had both on at the same time. I would love to have more people who are on the left side of politics on my show. And I have sent countless invitations to those people, and they choose not to be a part of it.
Yeah.
They don't want to have the dialogue with me. So that's unfortunate and troubling for me. I would love to have a dialogue with those people.
So what is your goal? Is to spread more what you believe, or to have a conversation with people?
It's a great question. I think it's kind of a combination of the two. I think all of us believe that our perspectives and views
Yeah.
are moral and correct. Otherwise, we wouldn't be taking action towards what we're doing. Like, I believe that you believe what you're doing is moral and correct, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So, and so I believe the same thing. But people who have different beliefs than me, I would love to work on us trying to verbalize those beliefs together, have conversations, explore them. So,
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you, because my way of seeing things right now is, I have like, I'm somebody actually stand for strong opinion, like every time when it comes to politics, if it comes to religion, all my opinions are always, every time people ask me like, what do you think about this? I'm like, I don't think you really know. I don't think we need to have that conversation together because I don't know if you are ready to have this type of conversation with me. I always say that
Love
to people.
that.
I'm like, I don't know if you're ready because my opinion is not really going to be something that you are happy with, but I hope you're going to be able to be mature enough to have that conversation. My goal is to, I love challenge having a conversation with people from both sides, not just the people that think like me, because otherwise it's just going to be a conversation one way. But I
That's
understand exactly where you're standing. But the problem is we live in a society where people that don't believe in whatever you believe sometimes, especially people actually think like you, but to the other side, they don't want to have that conversation. They already think that you're wrong, and they just don't want, as long as they know like you think like I know the science, they just don't want to have that conversation with you. They just put it on your box, be like, I just don't want to be there. They don't want to confront. And for me, it's like they believe in something that they're not even capable to explain, because you have to be able to explain people when you're right about something. So maybe you might convert other people. I think that's the problem we're having today.
You're absolutely right. I think it's very telling about people's confidence level in their own views and perspectives.
Mm,
I believe that people are told what is moral and what is
yeah,
ethical, and so they want to hop on whatever that is
yeah,
without fully um, investigating it, without fully looking into it. So they don't want to be challenged because they haven't really looked into it. They just want to be on that train of people who are on the moral path.
yeah,
However, sometimes when you research something, you view that it's actually the opposite position
yeah,
that you might view as more moral and relatable. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. I think that's the thing. I think especially when it comes to, for me, as I know, like there is like one of the most difficult topics that you can have in this day of time is like religion. You have politics, and now the third thing is, I would say, is more like gender type of conversation. It depends on where you're gonna bring it. I think that's as well when you have to talk about gender. I think this is one of the most difficult conversation to have openly today, and I don't think like the society that we're living today is actually ready for that. And for somebody like you or other people who feel like they have to express themselves, I feel like we just have to, as much as we want to express ourselves, you just have to know the environment that you're actually expressing yourself, and maybe you have to be a little bit smart, and the way you actually expressing yourself. You have to change the way you post the things. It's like me when I post things on Facebook. There's there's a post that you put public. There's posts that I put just be friend. Every time I post something public, I always make sure and I actually know exactly what I'm posting, and I'm actually able to stand my ground if I have any backlash. I don't know if you feel the same as well. If you just write or you just post something, or you really ready for anything, you
I
know.
I love it. I would love to be proven wrong at some point, because I'm open to these conversations. When it comes to things like you're talking about, gender and things like this, I'm trying to think about the safety of everybody, and that's kind of where part of my perspectives come from. And we don't have to get into it or anything,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really encourage the dialogue. I would love to have those conversations with somebody who has a different view than me, because I think it'd be interesting to try to understand that, you know?
Mm.
And it is unfortunate that, maybe somebody who is uh, a transgender person might feel like having the very conversation is some sort of assault on their rights, simply having the
Mm.
conversation. I don't
Mm.
know. I'm just trying to guess what that perspective might be, because I'm not a transgender person myself. So I'm wondering if even needing to have the conversation is like some sort of insult or assault on their rights in their mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the conversation is a conversation. At the end of the day, like if we want to have a conversation with people, it's just because we want to have like we just have to understand each other. Not just like transgender or whatever is into everything, like even in politics, in religion as well. Because we live in a society where we have people coming from different corners of the world. People believe in different things. We are so used to stand for whatever we stand for, we grew up with. And now, this time of age now, everything have changed. You cannot really identify yourself as the corner that you grew up. Now everybody have to be just like stand for the same thing, no matter where corner of the world you live. So it's kind of like hard for people who doesn't want to adapt. And if you don't want to adapt, it's gonna be you're gonna look like a bad person, and that's the problem that we're having today. You know.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is that, I think it's great when people can stand their ground, not apologize for your views or feelings, like I don't agree with, I think there's a difference between culture and society and religion. Those are, I don't think you can, you can't serve both religion and culture. You see what I mean? Because they contradict each other. They butt heads very often, not always.
Yeah, but saying culture actually, saying culture that turned religion into, like, they mix into culture now. Saying people actually, when a religion is so, like, they're saying like country where they take a religion to another level where it actually part of the culture now. I'm not saying country like that, yeah, but that's just.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I think that so much in our culture is in direct opposition to the writings in, like, the Bible, for example. It's like, because our culture is so full of what I would call moral relativity. It's like justifications for things that I would view as evil. People can go, oh no, that's okay because of this reason, or things I view as damaging to society and families.
Yeah.
The husband wife family, like pornography, for example. I would view that as something that damages relationships and families. And any man from adolescence all the way up through adulthood, I would view that as something as damaging. And people will come up with justifications for this, like I'm only hurting myself. I'm not hurting other people. Well, I believe that there are effects that actually affect society as a whole when it comes to things like pornography. It objectifies women and men. I believe it objectifies both. And there's a lot of mental issues in there that end up happening because people subscribe to that, so like take part in watching pornography and things. See, when people justify these things, it gets really hard, because that's when I think you have to have a black and white stance. You have to have a solid perspective. It's like, this is wrong, or this is okay. Like, for me, I would say it is wrong all the time. And I can counter very much a justification from pornography with different views and perspectives and research and things. But I like to just use common sense, like, but yeah, there's just a lot of justification out there, and that's really hard when you can try to justify taking part of things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I understand what you're saying, but I think now what we need to know is, as much as you can think something is wrong for you because you believe in that, because you have enough evidence that is actually wrong, what we need right now is actually to be able to respect other people's opinion, even if you don't agree with them. And that's the things that I think that's where we actually struggle the most. Like you right now, you say something. If I don't agree with you, I still have to listen to you, and I have to respect the fact that this is what you believe. And I can't disagree with you, but I have to respect your opinion. And I don't have to be against you because of what you believe, because this is what you believe. And the same way I want you to treat me as well. I think that's where, that's where the problem is right now. We don't accept the fact other people can actually think different than us. But as I always say, as long as the conversation is still healthy, as long as we don't attack people directly, as long as whatever we're saying is just based on what we feel, we don't actually attacking people. I don't see any problem with that, but this is what we're struggling on.
Well, I think that a lot of what you're referring to has to do with people taking somebody with a counter perspective and viewing that as a moral attack on their character. Like if I have that perspective that I was talking about and you would have a different perspective, or somebody else anyway, you have a very healthy way to communicate, but somebody else might say, you're telling me I'm a bad person if I view something different. And then they attach their emotions to it, and they also attach their they view it as some sort of personal character attack. Like if I have a different opinion than you, then I'm attacking your personal character. So you don't suffer from that. Other people would suffer from something like that. You see what I mean?
Yeah. But you don't think it's because of the old fashioned, because when you think about society, if you go back a few years ago, the things that we have struggled to talk about today, when you talk about it, you come across like you're a bad person. But if you go back a few years before, people was able to talk about those things without having any backlash. People was able to laugh at certain things, but maybe because society was actually allow us to have those conversation, and then actually society was telling us this is right, this is wrong. So every time you stand for something is right, you're talking bad about something is bad, everybody was kind of agree with you. And that's why we grew up in that environment, and the environment today is actually changing what is wrong and what is right. And the people are kind of staying on that old-fashioned way. That's the people actually struggling. But I believe like kids are burning today, like a kid's gonna be born now, and 10 years later or 20 years later, I don't think it's gonna have the same like mentality that like you and me. Like, I don't think they're gonna think the same, because they're gonna grow up in a different type of environment. Maybe because of they might change, maybe because of the family or whatever, but just in general, the environment that they're growing today, I don't think they're gonna have this kind of problem, because the perspective of everything is kind of changed. I don't know.
Well, I think that the changes that you're referring to, like how we could have these views years ago, but now somebody would find my views very offensive and attacking or something. Yeah. I think that has to do with a very systematic way to destroy culture and society. I do. I think that it's something that's very systematic, that is done by Hollywood and governments and media and things, where we're too accepting or more accepting of things that are wrong and immoral, and not being discerning enough, like discernment, being able to judge what's right and wrong, is one thing that we're trying to make it where I think media and different things like different political groups and things are trying to say, don't say anything's wrong. Nothing's allowed to be wrong. Everything's okay. There is no right or wrong. And I think that that's a gradual systematic change that hurts all cultures and societies. That's my personal view.
Yeah. But I think it's more like, as deep as we can see, is actually more political, like, people trying to bring it more there. And it's crazy. Like, it's very, and what is your most, like, I say the thing that you struggle the most?
The thing that I struggle, well, like we kind of touched on it. I struggle with trying to get people to have these conversations. I think it's great.
I mean, it's funny because this is all people want, to have a conversation,
Oh, people love it. Like, they love to see it. They want to see opposition. They want to see people, having those conversations, because they want to hear their own thoughts kind of verbalized, and maybe they don't feel like they are in a position to do it themselves. So hearing two sides of a discussion, two opposing sides, is very healthy and fun and entertaining.
Mm.
So I have trouble finding other people who are willing. So, hopefully people can listen to this and then they might go, hey, I want to talk to that guy because what he's saying is a little troubling and it sounds like he's willing to talk to me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. But do you feel like you are, I'm not going to say mute, but you feel like I mean, you are stopped to be able to express yourself? Do you feel that way
Oh
sometimes?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I want to express myself, but I can't because I don't know how people are gonna react. I'm scared to hurt people, and I don't know how people are gonna react in general.
The thing is, I'm pretty fearless. Okay. Like
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of hurting people or making people sad and upset. And that sounds mean and bad to
As
some
long
people.
as you know you're right, that's another thing. Because if you say something that you say, I'm not scared to hurt people's feelings, if you know whatever you're saying is wrong, that's wrong actually
Oh
to
yeah.
think that way.
Yeah, I can
So
agree with that. Like I've made some videos recently and I'm thinking to myself, I should redo those videos because I was harsh in those videos. Like I did a video on how I said everybody needs to wash their hands. And then I did another one about how everyone needs to wear deodorant. And I was using the F word a lot in those
yeah,
videos. I was very
yeah.
angry. And I think I should just remake them without the
Yeah.
profanity.
I mean, swearing is not like a big issue. Like, we have like singer, they swear, people swear, but it depends of the context of and the way you're having the conversation as well. Like if you're telling people to wash their hand or whatever, but it depends of the context. As I say, now we live in a time where every time you say something, there's many way you can actually. I think that's what we need to learn. There's many way you can actually have your message across without being so provocative, even though whatever you say, somebody always gonna get hurt. I always say to the person, no matter how right you want to sound, how nice you want to sound, somebody somewhere always gonna be feel like offended, right? So the only thing we can do is to try our best to be comfortable with what we actually post before we actually post them, to be as much as you can.
Yeah, but I think that sometimes somebody being offended can lead to their own change and their own questioning of themselves. Like if
Mm.
I make a video on if you don't wash your hands, you're gross. And then that somebody feels bad about that.
Yeah.
Maybe they should. Maybe they should feel bad about it.
Yeah, I
And
get
then
it.
they should think about it. And because that's what my video was pretty much. It's like saying, it's obvious you need to wash your hands or you're disgusting and gross and people don't like you, you know?
Yeah,
And if somebody wants to argue with me on that, then maybe it's okay for them to feel bad about it sometimes. Sometimes I think that's a motivator. That's frightening for some people. They probably
yeah.
think I'm terrible, but I don't know.
But are you trying to work on yourself to kind of adapt with the new way of expressing ourselves, or you just want to stay as you were before?
That's a good question. Um, a little bit. Mostly, I want to be able to say what I want to say, even if it hurts people's feelings, because what I need to do is make sure that I'm telling the truth and honoring God
Yeah.
and the truth. As long as I got those covered, I don't need to be specifically rude and offensive. That's something I kind of try to work on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But beyond that, if I have God and the truth, then I'm not afraid of necessarily hurting people's feelings. But I will tone back my rudeness and offensiveness, right?
Yeah. So now you are blocked on YouTube, right? On Facebook
Uh,
as well?
um, I have some of my videos deleted on YouTube, but I'm not blocked on YouTube right now. But on
Okay.
Facebook, I'm blocked for 30 days for
Is it was
sharing a meme, basically.
ah yeah, I think but because now it's not just about what you say, it's actually things that you post as well, the way people respond to that, because the technology, technology have just is so advanced right now. So every time you post something, even if you haven't write it, they still gonna find out like, oh, you know what, this person or people gonna report you or anything as well. I mean, Facebook at the end of the day is a platform. They stand with whatever they stand for. If it's against the, whatever rule that they have, they actually allow to push you out. The same, the bad thing is America has always been a country of free speech. That's why, people actually love America because of that. That's what it used to be. But now we feel like it's actually one of the countries where people now actually not able to really be themselves and express themselves freely. And that's the scary part. And people like yourself and people like many other people, the fact they're still able to express themselves, the way they want to express themselves, it kind of giving hope and more, I don't know, more power to other people as well feel like, they want to give up. I think it's important for some people to still stand the ground because we need it, being
Yeah.
able to express yourself is being able to be yourself.
Not just that. In addition to that, I think it's important for people who have bad messages to get able to express them, because otherwise,
Really?
how do we know? Let me tell you, how do we know that's a bad person or not? Like, let's say I'm riding on the bus. I don't want to ride on the bus next to someone who's a Nazi, right? Or something. But how do I know they're a Nazi if they don't get to express their voice? So I'm riding next to people who are bad people and I don't even know it. See, when somebody expresses themselves, then society can make a choice to react and, socially shove this person away, right? But they have to be able to voice themselves. Otherwise, you don't know if they're a bad person.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
But there is a line actually, because if you are giving the voice to people that you qualify as bad people,
Sure.
the fact you're actually giving them the voice to actually express themselves, sometimes is like it gives them a little bit of credit. That's the thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, platform, and you don't have, it's like today talking like to giving platform like to pedophile or for people who are killing, or killing like children or whatever. If you give them a platform to try to express themselves because they feel that way, is another way to try to normalize.
I don't want to normalize pedophilia. That's a good point. However, how do we know if someone's a pedophile if they don't out themselves? How do we know? Otherwise, they're living by you and me in secret. They're around us. They're still there either way, right? They're still there. The only difference is we don't know it. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's a line, as I say, people can actually able to say things because I don't know, there's a different context, but like for have like bad people today go online and it's just like express themselves, they want to hurt children or they want to hurt other people based on their race or religion, they're just able to spread those like bad words, those hate online. I think that's kind of bad because it's giving them like a platform to actually express themselves and then to feel like they have a right to do that. And the problem we have in today's society is because we are actually being unfair when it comes to choose what we have to censor. Right? Those things are bad, and those people shouldn't even be able to say anything. But the thing is, now even certain people who are not spreading bad messages, just spreading something who is different, but who is not unhealthy as well, who is not like there to hurt anybody, but they are putting them on the same box just because they think different. I think that's what the problem is.
See, that's where it's really hard, because who are the judges? You know what I mean? Who's the judge? Who's the jury? Who decides what point is okay and what point is not okay? That's where we run into problems, because
So who do you think should decide?
who do I think should? I just want to leave it up to society. I want to leave it up to public. I want someone to say something horrible, and so all of us go, let's stay away from that guy. He's horrible, Right now, I hear a lot of stuff about racism, but I don't see myself all of this stuff happening that I hear about. And maybe it's because people are silencing racists or whatever. But I'm not seeing it. I don't want to associate with someone who's racist, but I don't know if they're racist or not because I can't see it. So I don't know.
When you say like you don't see, what do you mean? Like you don't see it? Like you talk about your environment, or like me today, right? Racism, like I see that a lot. But the thing is, the way like racism is happening, like in America, I live in the UK. The way racism happened in America, I don't see it here.
Yeah.
But is that I don't see like around my like around my people here, I don't see that the same way. But in America, I can see it because we watch TV, we see social media. When somebody get killed, we see like when it comes to justice, like the way they are treating people based on their race and everything. This is something like we don't have to experience that in ourselves, but as long as we see other people living those kind of things, we have to believe like this exists, even if it doesn't directly affect us. It's the same as you today. When
Uh-huh.
you're telling me like you're in America, you're telling me like you are censored, you are not able to express yourself, you're not able to do that. I'm not, my Facebook is fine, my YouTube is fine, but I'm still concerned. I'm still know like this kind of thing exists because I have somebody like you. I can see what happened to you and then I feel concerned about it. So this is what I'm coming from. It's the same with racism as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't, what kind of racism do you see where you're at?
The racism that I see where is here is people, what can I say? The way the police treat people in America here, we don't have it like that. Here, the racism is more based on workplace. People want to grow in certain level. When you're trying to elevate yourself, that's when racism is more applied, like in the country, in the UK. And when you have like the way sometimes they treat like, young people here on the street as well, you see a lot of discrimination, but it's not as the difference between Europe and America is not as open on your face like is in America. America is more like they arrest you, everything, they don't care. But here is it still is exists. It's not like it doesn't exist, but it's just different type of racism. Yeah.
Well, I believe that the media is elevating these racist situations or whatever. I don't think that America is as racist as the media makes it sound like it is, because I believe they want to it sells because it goes to your emotions, right? When you hear someone's being racist or whatever, then that makes us feel like injustice is happening and we have strong emotions towards that. But I don't believe our police are like mostly racist. I believe there are instances and things, but I believe the media wants to sell advertising, so they push that narrative. That's what I believe here. I believe narratives are really being pushed. I don't believe that it's as true as the media pretends that it is. I believe there are people who are racist. I believe racism happens to all races,
Yeah,
to
I mean,
everyone.
I see where you're coming from, but when it comes to that is as much as the media, of course, the media always go far in everything. The media always add that extra. But the problem is when it comes to like say the police, not all police are actually racist, like not everybody is racist. But those who are racist, they feel like they are protected by the system. And then that's the problem because when it comes to like justice system, when things happen like to certain people based on the color, they don't use the same energy to when it happened to other people. And that's why people feel like things are unfair. What people are asking is not for people to love Asian people, black people, or white people, whatever people are. The only thing people are asking is to be treated fairly. If you have to, if you have to kill every person that you see in the car, if the police have to kill everybody, put them in jail, they have to do that to everybody. But if they don't have to, if they only do that to certain race, that's when the issue is because that's what you call discrimination. And this is what happened more in America. We're actually seeing that. Even when you check, when you go to jail, you see the number of people who are incarcerated.
Sure.
You're gonna find out like what race are more incarcerated, and you're gonna say, okay, because those people maybe they're not educated. But when you go to the ghetto where they live, you're gonna find out there's a lot of things behind, and behind most of it is actually based on the race. So it's always people on the top that actually allow this to happen. So this is actually where it's coming from. But it's not like everybody's racist. It's not like all police are racism. It's just the system is protecting certain people. It's not those people they haven't choose to be protected. It's just the way the system is built. So that's where the problem is. That's what I believe.
Okay.
Anyway, we wasn't around that, but coming back to freedom of speech as well. So how do you see society tomorrow? What do you think we're going? based on that?
Wow. I
Do you
believe
think
that
it's gonna get soft? Do you think if it go crazy, how do you think, how do you project the future?
project the future. That is a great question. I believe that, these are private companies, things like Facebook or whatever, and then they choose to ban me for 30 days. So they're creating innovation by other social media companies being elevated
Yeah,
because other social media companies that are choosing not to discriminate against my message,
yeah,
whatever that is, um, if they're not going to ban me, then I'm going to support them. So the more that this banning happens, the more you're pushing other companies to succeed. But I think it's really scary and really concerning because, like I told you, I don't trust the people making these judgments. And I'd love to be able to argue them, like when they decide that what I do was bad, like I'd like to have this dialogue or conversation, but I don't get to. It's a private company. But I'm afraid of things like hate speech laws. I'm afraid of that because I don't trust the people making these judgments. And that's something that I need to spend a lot of time creating my videos about and getting people together to try to fight things like that. Like, hate speech it's just something that people that's their perception. We all have different perceptions.
yeah. It's like coming back to the comment that you actually tell me today about racism, right? When you told me like for you, racism is exists, but you never experienced that, and for you, is not as much as the media is saying, but you make it sound more like it's not like a big deal in America, right? But
Yeah,
for certain people, like like me today, to have this conversation with you, because I have to understand what you're saying and I have to try to understand completely like what you're trying to say and to give you my opinion as well based on what I know. But for certain people, they're not really gonna take it that way. They're just gonna make a judgment straight away. And same people not call you racist or other people, be like, oh, just ignore or whatever. But the thing is, that's the problem. If we don't have a conversation, healthy conversation, if we don't express ourselves, you won't be able to understand what I'm trying to say to you based on my community, and I won't be able to understand what you are trying to tell me based on the community that you're actually around. Because believe it or not, the answer that you're actually giving me today is based on your environment, the way you grew up. As I said to you, in England, he had never experienced certain things. So I think that's the problem. If we start having more conversation, more healthy conversation, maybe we can actually, all of us, we're gonna have more, we're gonna understand things more. You're gonna be like, oh, I didn't know like this is what happened in the community or whatever. And I was gonna be like, oh, I didn't know like in your community you guys don't really pay attention to certain things that is happening. But yeah, so I think that's where the problem is. And coming back to social media platform, I feel like maybe they should create, I don't know if other people, because the internet doesn't belong to one person. That's why sometimes I ask myself, why people don't create like one platform where everybody can actually express themselves freely. That's something like Facebook.
yeah.
I don't know. Do you think nobody can do that?
um Not right now. I don't think that we have a lot of those sort of, I mean, Parlor was someplace where people were expressing themselves
Yeah.
somewhat freely, but then it was shut down, right,
Yeah.
by
I heard that.
providers. And now I think it's back, but it's under certain guidelines and things. No, I'm not, I don't know a lot of
Maybe the
different.
government is above everything online. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's frightening when we have these large, basically I think it's kind of a concern because Facebook, there are more people on Facebook than there are in certain countries, so
Yeah.
if they're controlling the narrative, if they're controlling what's okay and what isn't okay to say, then they can skew things their direction. They can skew society their direction. Maybe Facebook decides to do a bunch of commercials about Hershey's chocolate. Everyone's going to buy some chocolate. You know what I mean? They can change the face of our society. That's scary. And sometimes I wonder if that's when government should step in to try to create some form of regulations. But government regulations are scary to me too. So I don't know what the answer is exactly, but I'm worried that these social media companies have so much power that there's more, like I said, there's more people on Facebook than there are in medium to large countries.
That's
So
crazy. Actually, I never see things that way. That's crazy. Actually,
they're telling people what's okay to believe.
I think
That's scary.
Facebook is more like planet Earth but online. If you think about it, yeah.
And
It's more like brain. Is more like a representation of our brain.
not my
That's
brain.
well, not your brain because you don't want to put everything there. But it's like it's crazy actually. Yeah, you're kind of right when you come to that. It's
Yeah.
it's scary. And when it come to, like, you say something about Christian, do you think it's like hard to be a Christian today as well when it comes to expressing yourself?
I think that in the Bible,
Talking about politics, just like being a Christian.
it's promised to all Christians that we will be persecuted in society, right? So it's always going to be hard. And I believe that if you have God on your side, if you're trying to build up that message, then it's going to go well. You need to, like, I believe we need to do that, for Christians need to not be afraid and be outspoken, and whatever persecution is going to come, we already had a promise to us that we're going to be persecuted.
Yeah, but I feel like many Christians today are actually afraid to. We come to the point where people are even scared to post something to say Jesus on the post on Facebook. That's why simple things like that, like you cannot say I love you Jesus or something, like people are actually scared to say those kind of things. This is actually how bad it get, because it's not because they are not allowed to say, it's because they don't want to offend other people, because some people, they don't believe in God, some people believe in other religion. I think it's the same for saying, like, I think Muslim, they kind of fine, because Muslim, they actually, that's why I respect them a lot, because when it comes to their faith, they are very expressive. And I think like Christian, they more really care too much about what people feel about. They don't want to hurt anybody in terms of whatever they're saying. And yeah, this is how bad things are getting as well, just like in simple conversation, not just like writing some bad word, just like to express yourself, to say something like God, like, is very hard these days. I don't know if you noticed that.
I have noticed that, absolutely. um that's all the more reason I think that I think that people who are Christians should really make a commitment to spread that message.
Maybe church don't talk about it as well. Church are getting scared too.
Yeah, they are, and that's concerning. I think that strengthens me. That makes me feel like I need to be a lot more vocal as far as my faith. The fact that other people are scared. And this is something to think about. When somebody tries to shut me down when it comes to my faith, that offends me. I'm offended by that. If someone tries to shut down my Christian faith, that offends me. So why is their offense of my Christian faith more valued than my offense of them trying to shut me down? Why would theirs have more value than mine?
Yeah, I think that's the question that we all ask. And yeah, it's because the way society is moving is not moving on your direction. It changed the direction. It's not the same direction anymore. That's why whatever doesn't fit, if I can call it agenda or whatever, the plan, whatever it doesn't fit, you cannot use it, and then you stand as something bad. And sadly, that's what it is right now.
Yeah. Well, I like to hear that people are offended, and then let them know that their perspective offends me quite equally.
I mean, the funny things about it, every time, like, sometimes I post something on Facebook, sometimes I'm trying to be a little bit, provocative, but like in a nice way, just to start a conversation. I will say something, have somebody say like, oh, what do you think this way? I'm like, okay, what do you think differently? Tell me. And then as soon as you're trying to start the conversation, the people don't want to get involved. They just want to get involved if you are being rude. Because what I realize is the best way being rude is actually for weak people. When you call people racist, call names, everything. That's for weak people who are not able to express. They just use anger and hate. But if you say something that you believe, even if it's like strong and people don't agree with that, as long as you don't like directly attacking people or insult people, you start a conversation. The fact there is no hate or violence in your language, people don't want to like it. People don't want to like it because you're not giving them the opportunity to try to call you names and everything. People don't want to have no conversation with you. That's what I've noticed. But if you're trying to be bad, now they're gonna jump because they're gonna find the opportunity trying to push you and call you all kind of names. So
Yeah, it's really sad when it comes to our communication. I think it breaks down because of social media. I think social media is the opposite of social. I think it takes our social skills and it diminishes those because people are on the other side of a computer. So all of a sudden they're really tough and strong with their words and they can say anything they want. But in society, those same people, they aren't as strong when it comes to talking to you. You know what I mean? So social media has really destroyed social interaction. It has obliterated it, in my view. And it's sad because there are people who you could be close friends with, relatives or something, and then you find out because of posts on social media that you don't agree politically or something like that, then all of a sudden they stop talking to you. But when there's something that you say that's political, it's like you could share a picture of a meal you just made, right? And they won't comment on it. But when it's something that you say that's a personal view, like a political or social view, they'll jump on it. You know what I mean? They're ready to attack. And they won't go, wow, that looks like a great meal, or your camping pictures were really cool. They're only pouncing. They're only attacking.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like all the digital addiction, the online addiction is hurting our abilities to communicate. Kids can't even talk on a phone anymore. They have to text and they have anxiety when it comes to calling somebody. All of this digital stuff, it's all bad and evil. I mean, you and I can use it to kind of try to share messages, and that can be good. But overall, I wish that it was all gone. I'm not going to stop using it because I want to be on the same level as everyone else. I don't want to not have the same advantages as other people. But if it was up to me, the whole internet would just be gone forever.
But do you think, like, what do you think is the solution? Do you think, because people are saying like maybe if people start having ID, and because you see a lot of people online, they don't really use their real identity or whatever. So what do you think if people can actually submit their identity, like to know exactly who you are? Do you think it's going to be maybe better? I know it's going to be dangerous for some people to get found. Do you think it's going to be much better and much clean for people to stand their ground and to actually know who they are? Because there's a lot of fake profile as well.
Most people know who I am, and
I mean, for you and I, it's different because you do podcasts and do it. Our face is there, like you don't really need no idea. Just in general, same people. Do you think it's gonna change the way people pull things online?
No, I think that social media and the internet it's affecting people's brains and the way their brains work, and I think that they might already be tainted and messed up.
Yeah.
Some people who are wanting to be very provocative, they're going, if you take away their ability to do that quietly and anonymously, then they're going to do it anyway. They're just going to say extreme things, I feel anyway. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. So Instagram, do you use Instagram as well?
Instagram? Yeah.
Do you struggle there as well? Do you have a lot of are you censored there as well?
No, I don't use it as often, but I need to start using it more because I seem to be censored less, but at the same time I use it less. I'm also on Twitter.
Yeah, I think Twitter is good as well, but I think people talk, it makes you want to talk a lot. So the thing about Twitter, when when some people hate you, you're gone. You're gonna be viral. So that's the thing about Twitter.
Yeah. Hopefully, people will see your show and maybe they'll want
Yeah.
to talk to me on Twitter or on
What
Instagram.
about your podcast? Is your podcast online right now? Like, is he on like Spotify or you just use YouTube?
YouTube, Vimeo. I have a website,
Yeah.
freespeechnorthwest.com, like the
Mm.
shirt,
Yeah.
freespeechnorthwest.com. But yeah, if people just type Free Speech Northwest, they can find me all over. So
Yeah, but I think like as I say, I think to help you out, I believe like you need to have a conversation with. I know you are trying, but it's not going to be as easy as you can. You have to have a conversation with people from both sides, because if you just want have people for one side, people are gonna say like you kind of extremist, or extremist, it can be in both way, left or right. So if you
yeah,
are so focused on one type of people and the conversation just get deep, and you are on your bubble, you're gonna come across that way. I think the only thing we can try to do to be as open as we can. Even when I have a podcast, I've tried to listen to people more. Even when I talk, I'm trying to be as nice as I could, because that's why I love recording offline, because I believe when it's live, everything is just there. When it's offline, you can actually listen to what you did, and if you have to cut something, if somebody actually feel uncomfortable about whatever they actually say. But it's sad because, as you say, we cannot express ourselves freely. I wish I live in a world where I could just write my mind and just let the world feel whatever they want to feel. I wish we could live in that world, but it's
yeah.
sadly not
And
that way.
I also have a blog on my website where I try to do that. I try to just express what I want and people can comment on it. But hopefully, people see your show and then they go,
Yeah,
I want to talk to this guy. I don't
yeah,
agree with anything he says. Maybe
yeah. I mean,
somebody
it's
will say,
it's okay to agree to disagree. As I
yeah,
say, if anybody wanna get in touch, we can say you can actually go to his website, is freespeechnorthwest.com.
yes,
And yeah, so I'm gonna put the link on the description as well. As I say, if somebody actually want to have a conversation, if you're a free, like you think freely and you want to express yourself, you want to talk about things that make sense, people feel uncomfortable, as long as you don't come with hate or trying to stand against people, just to hurt people's feelings, you feel free to contact him and you guys can actually have the conversation, because society need to change. We need to learn how to speak to each other, because the more we don't have those conversations, the more we're gonna stay apart, and we don't want to know who we are. We're just gonna hate each other for no reason. This is actually what I believe. So before we finish, I just want to say the last words, something that you feel like we haven't talked about, anything that you feel like you want people to know, or anything.
Well, I think we should all value free speech, and we shouldn't have to be afraid. None of us,
Mm,
I don't feel any of us should have to be afraid with views that are different than somebody else's view, because I think that hurts, and then we have to hide and we can't learn. Like
yeah,
basically, Jordan Peterson said, in order to learn new things, you
yeah.
can't be afraid to be offended, right? In order to gain new knowledge, you can't be afraid. So I'd love to gain new knowledge. I'd love to share knowledge that maybe you don't have. I don't know. But we should all fight for free speech, and we should not be afraid to communicate. That's my belief.
Thank you for that. And then one question I want to ask you: what about in real life? Do you feel the same pressure as well when you're around people, like family dinner or with friends, work or whatever? Do you feel that when people see, they're like, do you feel that you have the same energy? You're trying to be like, oh, I need to watch my hand, watch my mouth, and
Sure,
whatever
sure.
I'm gonna say.
Well, I'm not normal, so uh, I I'm not too afraid to share my views publicly. However, I try to tone it down when I'm around family. Like if I'm walking outside with my family, I try to kind of keep my views to myself if they're extreme by comparison to other people. But when I walk around cities nearby, um, sometimes I am concerned a little that there are people in those cities that know who I am and they don't like me, but I make a choice not to be afraid and not to let that stop my message. I have messages.
I need to listen to your show. I believe you say some, because if you come to the point where you are worried about certain people to know, to maybe hurt you or something, I mean, like your show must be really raw, if I can say it that way.
Oh, it's raw. Yeah. You can say that. That's great. Yeah. It can be, but the same things that those people find morally reprehensible in me, as I said, I find very concerning about them.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
true, true, true. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, because sometimes you see things, be like, oh my god, this is too much. It's riot to me, but they don't see the same way. But what you do, they see like just too much, and it's just unfair because, as you say, we don't have nobody in the middle to tell us what is right and what is wrong. We just deal with it, and then it's sadly what is happening today. And the only advice I can do, you just have to, well, I always say to people, you have to stand for what you believe, no matter what, because as I said, there's a code that says if you don't stand for anything, you're actually gonna fall for everything. So
Oh, yeah.
you might as well, you have to be yourself because that's who you are. But at the same time, we have to be careful, or whatever you post, you have to make sure like you stand for that and you stand your ground. I always say to people, express yourself how you want, but as long as you don't directly attack people, same people, they're always gonna get offended. That's how it is. But yeah, it's what it is. It's sad, but it's our society today. I hope you're gonna have your channel back and everything's lifted as well. And I say, anybody want to get in touch with him, make sure you go to his website. I will say that again, is freespeechnorthwest.com, and he's gonna be able to have you on his show as well.
Yeah.
Thank you again to having you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Hey, listen, now that you've done the appropriate thing and you've given us the thumbs up, the share, the subscribe, the notification, and left a message, which I will pretty much definitely reply to. I mean, usually, almost always, I reply. Now it's time to look at your wardrobe. Take a close look at what you're wearing and see if it really truly represents how you feel. It's time to be outspoken. It's time not to hide in the shadows and not express yourself with a shirt on how you feel about masks, squirt guns, gun rights, just about anything. Driving through Portland, critical race theory, the definition of Antifa. We have all kinds of shirts that represent potentially how you feel. So take a minute, take a second, take a couple minutes, whatever. Check out our t-shirts on the Free Speech Northwest eBay and Etsy. We're on eBay and Etsy. Take a look at our shirts, see if any of them represent how you think and how you feel, because you might have found yourself a new wardrobe. Lucky you, okay? So don't forget, I assume you've already subscribed. Leave a comment, tell me you subscribed, and I'm gonna say, hey, hi, thank you. I appreciate that. And let me know if there's anything you want to hear or see or any stories you want me to do, because I want to know what you want. Thanks. Bye.